Okay, so once again, we're in the book of Genesis, chapter 32, and I'm going to start at verse 3. And it reads, And Jacob, which is Jacob, right, sent messengers before him to Esau, his brother, unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. Okay, so that's letting you know that's where Jacob's brother Esau dwelt. That was his inheritance given from the Most High, right, which is the land of Seir. Verse 4. And he commanded them, saying, Thus shall ye speak unto my lord Esau. Okay, so he was calling Esau Lord because Esau is the older brother of Jacob, not because, Esau was his ruler over him or king. He was acknowledging Esau as his older brother, right? Thy servant Jacob saith thus, I have sojourned with Laban and stayed there until now. Okay, Laban was the uncle of Esau and Jacob, which were that was Rebekah's brother. Okay, so basically Laban was Esau and Jacob's uncle on their mom's side in today's term, right? Verse 5. And I have oxen and asses, okay, which is donkeys, right? Flocks and men servants and women servants. And I have sent to tell my Lord, which is my older brother, right, that I may find grace in thy sight. And the messengers returned to Jacob, which is Jacob, saying, We came to thy brother Esau, and also he cometh to meet thee, and 400 men with him. Okay, so the whole reason why Jacob sent his messengers to Esau, because he thought that Esau was coming to make war with him, because supposedly he thinks that Jacob stole his birthright and his blessing from their dad, Isaac, right? Verse 7. And Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that was with him and the flocks and the herd and the camels into 2 bands. Verse 8. And said, If Esau come to the one company and smite it, then the other company which is left shall escape. Meaning, like, if Esau and his 400 men were to meet the people who I send before you, and if war is in Esau's mind against me and he happened to smite the first group of people that I sent, then the second group shall be able to get away, because they're going to know what happened to the first people, which is of Esau and his 400 men. So already, as my point of the video, how the Most High protects us even when we least expect it. This is Jacob. He's sort of wavering in his faith, and he don't believe that the Most High is going to protect him from the wrath of his brother Esau, because Esau thought that he stole his blessing and his birthright from Isaac, right, before the death of Isaac. Verse 9. And Jacob said, O power of my father Abraham, and power of my father Isaac, the Most High, which saidest unto me, Return unto thy country, which is my country, and to thy kindred, and I will deal well with thee. All right, so Jacob is saying, hey, you promised me all of these things if I serve you, okay, and return to our own people, that, you was going to protect me. You was going to answer my prayer and my call when I need you, right? Verse 10. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which thou hast shown unto thy servant. For with my staff I passed over this Jordan, and now I am become 2 bands. Verse 11. Deliver me, meaning, like save me, protect me, right? I pray thee from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau. For I fear him, lest he will come and smite me, and the mother of with the children. Okay, so he's already telling the Most High, like, protect me from Esau. Esau, he have a beef and a thing that he wants to settle with me because he think that I stole the birthright and the blessing. So he's coming to deal with me. Not only me, he's going to kill my wife and my children, right? So this is what he said in verse 12. And thou saidest, I will surely do thee good and make thy seed as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for multitude. So, Jacob, which is Jacob, he's calling in remembrance all of the promises that he told Jacob. Like, if you serve me, I'm going to make your descendants as the sand of the sea, and I'm going to prosper you. I'm going to protect you. You're going to be my people, right? You're going to be my chosen lineage. Okay. Verse 13. And he lodged there that same night, and took of that which came to his hand a present for Esau his brother. So already bribe Esau, like, hey, I got a present for you, man. You don't have to do what you plan to do. You know what I'm saying? We can make things right. I'm gonna give you this little gift here, and we're gonna settle things, right? Let's jump down to verse 16. And he delivered them into the hand of his servants. Every drove by themselves, and said unto his servants, pass over before me, and put a space betwixt, which is between drove and drove, meaning group of people from the other group of people, right? And he commanded the foremost, saying, when Esau my brother meeteth thee, and flipping the page, and ask thee, saying, whose art thou, and whither goest thou, and whose art these before thee? Verse 18. And thou shalt say, they be thy servant Jacob's, right? Like, this is from your brother Jacob, It is a present sent unto my lord Esau, and behold, also he is behind us. All right, so Jacob have already drawn out a playbook, like, yo, when the first people come to Esau, let Esau know that, I'm coming to meet you, but he's behind us, and he told us to give you this gift from him. All right. Verse 19. And so commanded the second and the third. So he had like groups of people greeting Esau kindly, like, yo, there's no beef from us. Jacob still love you. He wants peace with you, right? And all that followed the drove, saying, on this matter shall ye speak unto Esau when ye find him. Verse 20. And say ye moreover, behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us, for he said, I will appease him with the present that goeth before me, and afterward I will see his face. Pre-adventure he will accept of me. Verse 21. So went the present over before him, and himself lodged that night in the company. So, they tarried there through the night, right? Verse 22. And he rose up that night and took his 2 wives. Okay, so that's also letting you know that Jacob had 2 wives. Okay, that was permitted by the Most High. Okay, to have multiple wives, right? Which is polygyny, not polygamy or polyamory, right? Those are 2 different scenarios. But polygyny is promoted of the Most High. That's when a man have 2 righteous wives of his nation of people, right? And his 2 women servants and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok, or Jabbok, right? Verse 23. And he took them and sent them over the brook, and sent over that he had. All right, so Jacob, he had a pretty good playbook there, right, for Esau, because just like I said, in Jacob's mind, he thought that Esau was coming to war, right? In all actuality, he was, because he thought that Jacob treated Laban bad, which is their uncle, He thought that Jacob tricked them out of the woman, which is the wives that he had. But in all actuality, it was Laban playing a joke on Jacob. Okay. And he was fooling Jacob and taking advantage of Jacob. And Jacob did everything he was supposed to do according to the law of the land, the law of our people and our God. But Laban was still using trickery and foolery against him and deceiving him and manipulating him to do things that he didn't want to do. But of course, Laban told Esau otherwise. That's the reason why Esau had a certain feeling towards Jacob, right? So we're going to go to chapter 33, still in the book of Genesis, right? And I'm going to start at verse 1. And it reads, "And Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau came, and with him 400 men. And he divided children unto Leah, and unto Rachel, and unto the two handmaids," okay, which is Jacob's wives, right? "And he put the handmaids and their children foremost, and Leah and her children after, and Rachel and Joseph hindermost." All right. Verse 3. "And he passed over before them, and bowed himself to the ground 7 times, until he came near to his brother," which is Esau, right? "And Esau ran to meet him, and embraced him, and fell on his neck, and kissed them, and they wept." Okay, so right here, this was totally different than what Jacob expected of Esau, because he thought that Esau was coming to make war with him, right? And smite him because of what he heard from Laban of what Jacob did, which was all a lie. You know, he told Esau that Jacob was a thief. He stole all of his idols, right? So that just goes to show that Laban was a deceiver. He wasn't keeping the laws of the Most High. He was worshiping false other deities and gods, right? So he lied to Esau and told Esau that Jacob stole his idols, stole his money, and stole his daughters. Okay. And he didn't do what he was supposed to do, right? And he told Esau that the reason why Jacob is rich is because of all of the things that he stole. But Jacob actually worked to receive all of those things from Laban, okay, from the manipulation that he was doing with Jacob. And he worked to have all of those possessions and those wives of Laban, which is his daughters, to have, right? But in Jacob's mind, he was thinking that, you know, Esau felt differently because of what he was told. So that's the reason why he planned out, you know, his droves the way he did, and to greet Esau with gifts, right? But when Esau ran up on him and he wept and gave him a hug and cried, you know, that was totally different than what Jacob expected, right? So we're going to get into the point of that right now, which is in the book of Jasher. You know, this is something that Jacob totally didn't expect, right? But this was, you know, divine intervention of the Most High, and which is left out of the book of Genesis. So if you're reading Genesis for face value, okay, you're not going to expect the reason why Esau had a change of heart towards Jacob, right? So we're going to get into that right now. And we're going to go to the book of Jasher, which is on the 65th page and the 32nd chapter, so to speak, okay, in the book of Jasher. All right. And if you have it, it's the Bible Facts Annotated Edition, the book of Jasher, you know, which is also noted in the scriptures, the King James Version, the 1611, the Bible, right? And it can also be in other versions of the scriptures too. But the book of Jasher is mentioned in the scriptures, right? To let our people know there's other references in other books according to the Bible, right? So here we are once again. We're in the book of Jasher on page 65, just in case, you know, you have like this version of the book of Jasher, which is the annotated version or edition as it's written here. And we're going to start at verse 7, which is in chapter 32. Now, the name of this chapter is called Jacob reconciles with Esau, right? So this is the reason why Esau had his change of heart, which isn't included in the book of Genesis, right? So we're going to start at verse 7, and it says, and those messengers went to Esau, right? So this is when Jacob sent his droves to Esau, right, with the gifts, and found him on the borders of the land of Edom, going, flipping the page here, going towards Jacob, and 400 men of the children of Seir, the Horites, were standing with drawn swords. Okay, so this is the reason why Jacob's droves thought that, yo, Esau's coming to make war with you, man. They have drawn swords out, right? Verse 8, and the messengers of Jacob, which is Jacob, told Esau all the words that Jacob had spoken to them concerning Esau. Verse 9, and Esau answered them with pride, okay, just as Esau does today, and the personality trait that he possesses today, which is pride, right? But what does the scripture says in the book of Proverbs? Pride goes forth before destruction, okay? And Esau answered them, which is the droves of Jacob, right, with pride and contempt, okay, and said unto them, surely I have heard, and truly it has been told me what Jacob has done to Laban. Okay, like I was saying, Laban told Esau a bunch of lies concerning Jacob, right? So this is the reason why Esau was mad. Yo, that's one thing, right? The scriptures, man, they have all sorts of incidents and stories and situations that we can learn from as a nation of people, man, to give us clear examples of how things are happening today within our nation of people, and how the Most High can protect our people without we even knowing, man, without even being aware of the Most High's protection, man, through his divine interventions, right? So as it was saying here, surely I have heard, and truly it has been told me what Jacob has done to Laban, who exalt him in his house, and gave him his daughters for wives, and he begat sons and daughters, and abundantly increased in wealth and riches in Laban's house through his means. Okay, verse 10. And when he saw that his wealth was abundant and his riches great, he fled with all belonging to him from Laban's house. So he's saying that, you know, Jacob left Laban's house without even notifying him, like he just up and left, right? And he led Laban's daughters away from the face of their father as captives, right? So this is the lie that Laban told Esau about Jacob, man, right? Taken by the sword without telling him of it. So he's trying to say that Jacob stole the daughters of Laban by the sword, man, right? This is a wicked, deceiving man to say something like that, man. After you done manipulated Jacob out of all of those years of labor to receive his daughters as wives, man, and then you promised him Rachel, and then you told him, well, I know your 7 years of service to me is up, but, you know, you can't have my daughter Rachel, the one who you desire, but I'm going to give you Leah. But if you want Rachel, you're going to have to work another 7 years for that, man. That's wicked as hell, man, right? So this is what Laban told Esau, and this is the reason why Esau felt a certain way towards Jacob, right? As captives taken by the sword without telling them of it. Verse 11. And not only to Laban has Jacob done this, but also unto me has he done so, and has twice supplanted me, and shall I be silent? So Esau already have in his mind that, yo, Jacob already stole my blessing, he stole my birthright, and now he stole from our uncle all of the women, which is his daughters, and then all of the riches, all of the cattle, and you expect me to be silent about this? Like, this is like 4 times he did this. He been a conniving person, which was totally untrue. It was all lies. And Esau like, yo, you expect me to be silent? No, like, I'm about to give it to this dude, right? Even if he is my brother, right? Verse 12. Now, therefore, I have this day come with my camps to meet him, and I will do unto him according to the desire of my heart. Right? So Esau like, I'm going to deal with this dude according to the ways how I want to deal with him. I'm not even going to consult with the Most High or request of the Most High to deal with Jacob. I'm going to deal with Jacob the way I want to deal with Jacob, right? This is what Esau is saying, right? This is what he's telling his droves, right? Verse 13. And the messengers returned and came to Jacob and said unto him, we came to thy brother, to Esau, and we told him all thy words, and thus has he answered us. And behold, he cometh to meet thee with 400 men. Verse 14. Now then know and see what thou shalt do, and pray before the Most High power to deliver thee from him. Verse 15. And when he heard these words of his brother, which he had spoken to the messengers of Jacob, Jacob was greatly afraid, and he was distressed. Okay, so that's the reason why Jacob was distressed, man, because of the things that was told him from his drove, how Esau was going to deal with him according to his heart, man, right? So all of this right here was left out of Genesis, man. You know what I'm saying? So let's go back to the book of Genesis, chapter 29, okay? So that's the part that was left out from Genesis about how Esau was coming to meet him, okay? So we're going to go back to the book of Genesis to add some clarity to that. Some clarity, Salakia, right? So once again, we're in the book of Genesis, chapter 29. And I'm going to go to 16. Right now, this is concerning Laban. Okay, now this is the truth of the whole matter, right? About what really happened between Jacob and Laban when he was staying with Laban, right? When he, his mom Rebecca told Jacob to escape because Esau was feeling some type of way because, you know, he was looking to seek revenge against Jacob for supposedly stealing his birthright, right? And his blessing. So once again, we're in the book of Genesis, chapter 29, starting at verse 16, and it reads, And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Verse 17. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored, meaning that, you know, Leah, you know, she was a very beautiful girl. You know, she looked very nice, but she probably wasn't up to par as a woman that someone would desire, meaning she probably didn't have a voluptuous body, right? She didn't have big breasts and a big rump, so to speak, right? But she was pretty in the face, right? But she wasn't well favored. That's why it says this. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well favored, right? Verse 18. And Jacob loved Rachel. Okay, so he desired Rachel, right? And said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter, right? So he already let it be known that, yo, I'm going to serve you for Rachel. This is who I want, right? Verse 19. And Laban said, it is better that I give her to thee than that I should give her to another man. Abide with me. So Laban already made it official, like, yo, okay, well, you want Rachel? I'll give you Rachel. You know what I'm saying? So abide with me, right? And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days, for the love he had for her. Like Jacob was so much in love with Rachel, it didn't even seem like it was a 7 whole years that he was serving his uncle Laban, right? In continuation. And Jacob said unto Laban, give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. Meaning, like, he's going to officially marry her. So being that, he was already promised to Jacob, for the service for 7 years to Laban, Rachel supposedly was already promised to him. So that would have made it official, right? So this also consummates that, so-called sex or to lie with a woman is marriage. That's considered marriage. It's to marry, right? If you look up to the definition of marry, it says to have sex or intercourse. All right. So that would have been, the confirmation of it, right? Of the whole matter. Verse 21 again from the top. And Jacob said unto Laban, give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go into her. Verse 22. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place and made a feast. All right. So this is Laban working deceptively, right? He gathered all of the people and, made a party, right? A big gathering. Okay. Verse 23. And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to him, and he went in onto her. Okay, so what Laban did, he made a big feast, a big gathering, which is a party, got Jacob drunk, okay? And Jacob didn't know what he was doing. He probably fell out, passed out somewhere, in some room in Laban's house. And he thought that Laban was going to bring him Rachel, but he wound up bringing him Leah. But that wasn't a part of the agreement. The agreement was to have Rachel, right? But see, the connivingness of this right here is that Laban knew the laws of the land, right? And being that Leah was the older sister of Rachel, right? He didn't tell Jacob, who was ignorant to that law, that you have to receive Leah first because she's the oldest. She have to be the first to go out of the house. But the agreement between him and Laban was he was going to have Rachel. Okay, but he deceived Jacob into thinking that he was going to receive Rachel, but he still wound up giving him Leah, okay, which was the less desired one. Not to say the less beautiful, but the less desired, right? And it came to pass in the evening that he took Leah, his daughter, and brought her to him, and he went into her. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah, his maid, for an handmaid. Okay, so that's letting you know that Zilpah, she wasn't of the lineage of the chosen people, okay, which was the Eber, the Hebrew people. Okay, she was of another nation. Maybe she could have been a Syrian, or maybe she could have been an Egyptian or a Canaanite, but she wasn't of the chosen lineage of people, because she was a servant. All right. So if you're of the nation of Israel, which is the chosen people, you're not going to make your own people servants according to the law. You're supposed to do that to the other nations of people. You're not supposed to turn your people into servants of you. Okay. Verse 25. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said unto Laban, what is this thou hast done unto me? Like, yo, what's up? What's going on? You know what I'm saying, right? This is what Jacob is saying to Laban. Did not I serve with thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me, meaning that you deceived me, you fooled me. Okay, right? So he's telling Laban, like, yo, the agreement was for Rachel, not for Leah. You know what I'm saying, right? Verse 26. And Laban said, it must not be done so in our country, to give the younger before the firstborn. Okay, so Laban was very aware of that law within the land. So although he himself was aware of that law and that custom of the land, he was also aware that Jacob wasn't aware of that. So he took full advantage of that and gave him Leah instead. So that's the reason why it says this here. Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me? Verse 26, and Laban said, it must not be so done in our country, to give the younger before the firstborn. Okay, so that just goes to show, according to what Laban told Esau, it was all a lie. You know, he didn't take away or steal Leah and Rachel out of Laban's hands, you know, with the sword. All right. Verse 27. Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also, for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years. So he told Jacob, if you want Rachel, and which I should have gave you in the first place, you're going to have to serve me another 7 years, right? So Laban was taking full advantage of Jacob, man, and his ignorance to the law of that, right? Verse 28, and Jacob did so. So Jacob served Laban another 7 years, right? And fulfilled her week. And he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also. Okay, he gave Rachel, his daughter, to wife also, meaning that Jacob did not lead Leah and Rachel away by the sword, as if what Esau thought and was told by Laban, right? Verse 29, Slakia. And Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah, all right, which is the other handmaiden, right, as it says here, to be her maid, all right. So a lot of people think that Zilpah and Bilhah was younger sisters of Rachel and Leah, but that's not true, because if they truly were blood younger sisters, then why are there handmaids? Why are there servants? Right? Why would you make your own blood daughters servants to their older sisters? I mean, that wouldn't make no sense, especially if they're of the same nation of people. You know, if your wife is of your nation, you know what I'm saying, and everyone is of the same blood lineage, why would you make your younger daughters servants and handmaids to their older sisters? Right? So that just goes to show that Zilpah and Bilhah, they was of the other nations. They weren't of the chosen lineage, which is of, you know, ever Hebrew, you know, the lineage of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? So with that being out of the way, which is in the book of Genesis, the 29th chapter, we're going to go to the 31st chapter of Genesis, right? And we're going to start at verse 1. And it reads, and he heard the words of Laban, saying, Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was our father's hath he gotten all his glory. Verse 2. And Jacob, which is Jacob, beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not towards him as before. So the countenance of Laban towards Jacob was happy, was cheerful. You know, he embraced Jacob. He was happy to see him because, you know, Jacob is his nephew from his mom's side. But now Laban feels some type of way because he fulfilled all of the years for both of his daughters. But Laban wanted Jacob to hang around and still be a servant for him. But Jacob was like, nah, you know, I done served my years. You know, I accumulated my wealth by serving you. I have my cattle, my money. I got my wives, you know. Let me go in and do my own thing now, you know. So that's the reason why the countenance of Laban was changed towards Jacob, as it says here, right? Verse 2. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. Verse 3. And the Most High Power said unto Jacob, the Most High Power said unto Jacob, right? Return unto the land of thy fathers and to the kindred, and I will be with thee. Okay. So this is the promise that was speaking of in Jasher, you know, when Jacob, he was asking the Most High, like, hey, you said you was going to be with me and protect me, right? You the one that told me to leave Laban. and get myself to our own land, to our own kindred, so I can do my own thing, right? It wasn't that Jacob secretly left Laban and took away his daughters and his riches captive by the sword, right? Verse 4. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field of his flock. Verse 5. And said unto them, I will see your father's countenance, that it is not towards me as before, but the most high power of my father, okay, which is Isaac and Abraham, right, hath been with me. Verse 6. And ye know that with all my power I have served your father. So he's telling Laban's daughters, which is Leah and Rachel, like, yo, you know for a fact, you seen it with your own eyes. You witnessed this. I served your dad for 14 years for the both of you, right? Verse 7. And your father hath deceived me and changed my wages 10 times. So he was even cheating Jacob out of his wages, right? So Jacob should have had way more than he had when he left Laban, right? But the Most High power suffered him not to hurt me. All right, so this is what the Most High did. So he was seeing all the conniving evil things that Laban was doing to Jacob, right? But he held back on that, and, you know, he told Laban through the Spirit, you could do whatever you want to do, just don't hurt him, right? Just like in the book of Job, you know, the Most High told Satan, you could take all that Job have, but just don't hurt him. You know, don't kill him. You know, he's mine, right? But we're going to test his faith a little bit. You know, we're going to take his riches away. We're going to take his cattle. We're going to take his money. You know, going to punish his children. But you're not going to kill him, right? Because he's my servant. You know, he's a righteous man that is skewed evil. Okay? So this is what the Most High told Laban through the Spirit. You know, yeah, I see that you're cheating him out of his wages and you're going to lie to Esau about him, but you're not going to kill him, right? Verse 8. If he said thus, the speckled shall be thy wages, then all the cattle bear speckled. And if he said thus, the ringstrawed shall be thy hire, then bear all the cattle ringstrawed. Verse 9. Thus the Most High power have taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me. All right. So the Most High did that, not Jacob. He didn't lead all of those things away captive by the sword. That was the Most High, man, because Laban was beguiling and deceiving and manipulating Jacob, man, his servant, his chosen. Okay. So now let's go back to the book of Jasher. All right. So now you have the understanding of what truly happened. And it reads, and Jacob tarried there that night, and during the whole night he gave his servants instructions concerning the forces of and his children. All right. So the forces that's being spoken about is Esau's 400 men that he's coming with, right? Verse 27. And the Most High power heard the prayer of Jacob on that day, and the Most High then delivered Jacob from the hands of his brother Esau. Okay, the Most High did that, not Jacob, not his droves, okay, not his swords, the Most High, right? Verse 28. And the Most High sent 3 angels, okay, of the angels of heaven, Shamayim, the spiritual angel, right? And they went before Esau and came to him. Verse 29. Okay, so this is how the Most High works, man. This, like I said, this is the purpose of this video to let our people know how the Most High have divine intervention even when we're unaware of it, man, to protect us, man, right? And these angels appeared unto Esau and his people as 2,000 men. Okay, so this is what Esau saw. You know, even though anybody else is not going to see that, but Esau saw this, right? So this is how the Most High works, man, right? And these angels appeared unto Esau and his people as 2,000 men riding upon horses furnished with all sorts of war instruments, okay? And they appeared in the sight of Esau and all his men to be divided into 4 camps with 4 chiefs to them, right? Verse 30. And one camp went on, and they found Esau coming with his 400 men. All right, so Esau only had 400 men, but this first camp that the Most High had divine intervention with his angels appeared to be 2,000 men, right? And one camp went on, and they found Esau coming with 400 men towards his brother Jacob. And this camp ran towards Esau and his people and terrified them. And Esau fell off the horse in alarm, and all his men separated from him in that place. So they all bucked, they all ran, they bolted, right? Separated from him in that place, for they were greatly afraid. Verse 31. And the whole of the camp shouted after them when they fled from Esau. And all the warlike men answered, saying, all right, so this is the angels speaking on to Esau, right? Because he was there by himself. His men bolted, they scared, they bounced, right? Verse 32, surely we are the servants of who? Jacob, okay? Who is the servant of the Most High Power, all right? So they appeared onto Esau because Jacob is the what? The servant of the Most High, man, right? Keeping the laws, statutes, and commandments and the ordinances of the Most High, right? In continuation, and who then can stand against us? So they like, yo, who can stand against us? Surely not you. Your man is gone. You see them, they ran. You're the only one here. So it's just you against 2,000 against us mighty men, right? What you gonna do, right? In continuation, and Esau said unto them, O then, my Lord and brother Jacob is your Lord, who have not seen these 20 years, and now that I have this day came to see him, do you treat me in this manner? So right there, Esau's beginning to have this change of heart. Now, before, Esau was like, yo, I'm going to deal with Jacob according to how I want to deal with him. But he changed this whole tune when he seen these angels, right? The divine intervention, right? Verse 33. And the angels said unto him, or answered him, saying, as the Most High liveth, were not Jacob, of whom thou speakest, thy brother, we had not let one remaining from thee and thy people, but only on account of Jacob, we will do nothing to them. So he's letting them know, like, only because Jacob told us not to bother you, we ain't going to do nothing. But if it was up to us, we would deal with you right here, right now, right? Verse 34. And this camp passed from Esau and his men, and it went away. And Esau and his men had gone from them about a league, when the second camp came from forth towards him with all sorts of weapons again, and they also did unto Esau and his men as the first camp came unto them. So the second league of angels that the Most High did the divine intervention with came onto Esau the exact same way that the first angels did, right? Which was 20,000 men, mighty men, right? With all sorts of war instruments. Verse 35. And when they had left it to go on, behold, the third camp came towards him, and they were all terrified. Meaning, yo, Esau in his camp was like, yo, man, this is getting too much. You know what I'm saying? You might want to change your mind, Esau, right? And Esau fell off his horse again, and the whole camp cried out and said, surely we are the servants of Jacob, who is the servants of the Most High Power, and who can stand against us? So all of these guys are approaching Esau and they little 400 men like, yo, we serve your brother. But if you come in to deal with your brother in such a manner that you ought not, you better think again. You know what I'm saying? This is what they're telling Esau, right? Verse 35, and when they had left it to go on, behold, the third camp came towards him, and they were all terrified. And Esau fell off his horse, and the whole camp cried out and said, surely we are the servants of Jacob, who is the servant of God, and who can stand against us? Verse 36, and Esau again answered them, saying, oh, then my Jacob, my Lord, and your Lord is my brother. Right? And for 20 years I have not seen his countenance. And hearing this day that he was coming, I went this day to meet him. And do you treat me in this manner? So this is the third time Esau is dealing with these angels, which took the form of humans. Like, yo, I'm not going to do anything. Like he chumped up. You know what I'm saying? He had to change his heart. Like, yo, I'm coming to meet Jacob in the peace, but you know, you acting like I'm coming to do something, and now you want to do something with me, but it's not even like that, right? Verse 37, and they answered him, meaning the angels answered Esau, right, and said unto him, as the Most High liveth, were not Jacob thy brother, as thou didst say? We had not left a remnant from thee and thy men, but on account of Jacob, right? So he's saying, yo, if it wasn't for Jacob, we wouldn't even have left a remnant of you guys. You guys would have been wiped out, right? We would have dealt with y'all, right? But this is what they said here. Were not Jacob thy brother, as thou didst say? We had not left a remnant from thee and thy men, but on the account of Jacob, of whom thou speakest, being thy brother, we will not meddle with thee or thy men, right? Meaning we're not going to even deal with y'all. We're going to let y'all slide. You know what I'm saying? You got to pass now, right? Verse 38. And the third camp also passed from them, and he still continued his road with his men toward Jacob. When the fourth camp came towards him, and they also did unto him and his men as the others had done. Verse 39. And when Esau beheld the evil, okay, which the four angels had done unto him and unto his men, he became greatly afraid of his brother Jacob, right? So he's looking at Jacob like, yo, Jacob is, he's rolling deep. Like, you know, these guys here, man, I don't think that I want to do onto Jacob like how I planned anymore. You know, right? Verse 39 again. And when Esau beheld the evil which the four angels had done unto him and to his men, he became greatly afraid of his brother Jacob, and he went to meet him in what? Peace, okay? He came to meet him in shalom. All right. Verse 40. And Esau concealed his hatred against Jacob because he was afraid of his life on account of his brother Jacob, and because he imagined that the four camps that he had lightened upon were Jacob's servants. Okay. So that's the reason why that's not included in the book of Genesis, why Esau had the change of heart towards Jacob. And he fell on his face in the presence of Jacob and got up and held him and kissed him and wept because of the divine intervention unknowingly by Jacob, that the Most High protected Jacob against Esau, because Esau was coming to deal with Jacob. But that divine intervention from the Most High dealt with Esau, and Esau had that change of heart, man. So there's a lot of things that's not included in these scriptures that's referenced in the scriptures that we need to go to get the full understanding of the story, man. Right? So that's the reason why Esau had that change of heart, man. Right? Let's jump to verse 50, still in the book of Jasher. And the sun rose upon him, and he passed the brook, and he came up to the place of his cattle and children. Salakia, verse 51. And they went on till midday, and whilst they were going, the present was passed on before them. Right, so that's the present that's being spoken about in the book of Genesis, the present from the first drove that Jacob told to give Esau, just in case if he's feeling some type of way, right? Verse 52, and Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau was at a distance, coming along with many men, about 400, and Jacob was greatly afraid of his brother. Okay, so that's the reason why I say the Most High protect us when we least expect it. See, Jacob had no knowledge of what the Most High did with his divine intervention and scared and shook Esau up with those angels. So in Jacob's mind, he was like, yo, Esau's coming to deal with me. So we got the gift. You know, we still want to try to bribe Esau into peace, right? But the Most High had already handled it, right? Verse 52, and Jacob lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, Esau was at a distance, coming along with many men, about 400 men, and Jacob was greatly afraid of his brother. Verse 53, and Jacob hastened and divided his children onto his wives and his handmaids and his daughter. Okay, just as it's written in the book of Genesis, right? His daughter, Dinah, okay, he put in his chest, all right, meaning that Dinah was still, you know, a young little baby, right? A toddler, probably, so to speak, and delivered her into the hands of his servants. Verse 54, and he passed before his children and wives to meet his brother, and he bowed down to the ground. Yea, he bowed down 7 times, just like it says in the book of Genesis, right? Until he approached his brother, and the Most High Power caused Jacob to find grace and the favor in the sight of Esau and his men, and the Most High Power had heard the prayers, okay? For the Most High Power have heard the prayer of Jacob, okay? Also, this could be for Jacob's descendants, which is the 12 tribes of Israel, which is the so-called Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans, Seminole Indians of Negroid descent only, right? Verse 55. And the fear of Jacob and his terror fell upon the brother Esau. For Esau was greatly afraid of Jacob. So they both was afraid of each other, right? Jacob thought that Esau was coming to deal with him because of what Laban told him. And Esau thought that Jacob was going to deal with him according to the number of the armies that he saw from the angels, right? So they both was afraid of each other. And the fear of Jacob and the terror fell upon his brother Esau, and Esau was greatly afraid of Jacob for what the angels of the Most High had done to Esau. And Esau's anger against Jacob was turned into kindness, right? And when Esau saw Jacob running towards him, he also ran towards him, and he embraced him, and he fell upon his neck, and they kissed and they wept, okay? Just as is written in the book of Genesis, all right? So that's to let you know the part that was left out from the book of Genesis, right? Verse 58. And also Eliphaz, the son of Esau, with his 4 brothers, the sons of Esau, okay, all of the sons of Esau, wept with Jacob. And they kissed him and embraced him, for the fear of Jacob had fallen upon them all, right? So when they seen Jacob's men, which were the angels, which was 20,000 men with all sorts of war instruments, they was like, yo, you better put some respect on this dude's name when you see him, right? Verse 59. And Esau lifted up his eyes and saw the women with their offspring, the children of Jacob, walking behind Jacob and bowing along the road to Esau. Verse 60. And Esau said unto Jacob, who are these with thee, my brother? All right. So now he's acting all kind and nice, right? Are they thy children or thy servants? And Jacob answered Esau and said, they are my children, which the Most High Power hath graciously given to thy servant, man. All right. So that's what really went on, man. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't because of Jacob did according to what Laban told Esau, which was all lies. You know, all of this is what the Most High supplied to Jacob, man. Right? Verse 61. And whilst Jacob was speaking to Esau and his men, Esau behold the whole camp, and he said unto Jacob, whence didst thou get the whole of the camp that I met yesternight? So Esau was like, yo, who was all of these dudes, man, that rolled up on me? He was like, yo, we're servants of Jacob, and if it wasn't for Jacob, we would deal with you, but because you said Jacob is your brother, we're gonna let you slide. You know what I'm saying? Esau's like, yo, who's all of those guys, man, right? In continuation again. And whilst Jacob was speaking to Esau and his men, Esau beheld the whole camp, and he said unto Jacob, whence didst thou get the whole of the camp that I met yesternight? And Jacob said, to find favor in the sight of my Lord, it is that which the Most High Power graciously gave to thy servant. So in another sense, you know, Jacob think Esau is asking him about the people that he's already with, which is the droves that he sent, which was the peaceable multitude. But instead of Esau seeing them, he saw the angels from the divine intervention from the Most High, which was 20,000 mighty men with all sorts of war instruments, right? So Esau in his mind like, yo, this guy is rolling tough. But Jacob still in his mind, he was unaware of what the Most High did for him because of his prayer. He thought that Esau was talking about the peaceable multitude, which was the droves he sent towards Esau himself, man. Right? So that's how the Most High works for his people, man. If you're truly serving the Most High, he's going to do these miracles for you, man, and make sure that you're going to be all right, man. Right? Let's go to the book of Exodus, back in the King James Version, chapter 23.